every publisher I or an agent I had would send it to said, we can't publish this. It's impossible for society to have begun by canceling the debts because creditors wouldn't have made loans anymore. Well, of course they wouldn't, but the creditor, people didn't borrow money as a debt. They ran up to arrears. They couldn't pay the costs, the debts that were due at the end of harvest time for all the credit they'd run up during the year. For instance, right now, we're sitting in a bar, and Americans are certainly familiar enough with working class people running up a tab at the bar. They pay it on payday. The same thing happened in Mesopotamia. The alewomen were a public infrastructure utility, and you'd run up the money that you owed them at the end of the harvest. And if the harvest was bad and you couldn't pay, what were you going to do? The ruler, Hammurabi, and all the other rulers of the dynasty said, well, either the debtors are becoming the bondservants of the alewomen and the palace creditors and the any temple officials who officiated a wedding or a funeral who they owed money to. Do we really want our citizenry on the land to all of a sudden have to work for their debtors? If they do that, they will owe their labor to the debtors. They can't serve in the army anymore. They can't work on the infrastructure, on the the public infrastructure that we do in the non-planting, non-harvesting time to build the city walls, the palaces, the temples, and all of the other construction. So instead of doing to their labor force what the International Monetary Fund does to Latin America and having them lose all their property and becoming international debt peons, they canceled the debts. Well, that was basically what they found, and we realized that there was no point in trying to go to the public at large and write all this without getting full backing from the whole Assyriological and Egyptology community. Let's have the scholarships all over the world: German, French, Russians, Italians, Americans, even English. We had everybody there, and we rewrote the history of the ancient Near East, the privatization of the ancient Near East, the land use and land tenure, the debt and economic renewal, the origin of accounting in the ancient Near East, labor and public enterprise. So that took us from about 1994 to about maybe 2008 to publish the very ending of all of this. Well, needless to say, there's hardly any of this has got into the public domain, apart from the Assyriological group and apart from my writings, because publishers still would not publish anything that we wrote as a trade book because they said the creditors couldn't pay it. So I began to write a series of academic articles. I was basically encyclopedias were coming to me to write articles in them. I was invited by all the major Assyriological and archaeological magazines to write articles, and I realized that at the root of everything was, how did money and credit begin?